Hi, I'm Dawn, and this is where Shabby meets Bling. Halloween is coming fast, which means we only have a few more opportunities to make cool Halloween items. I am going to be taking a thrifted item today and turning it into something fun, unique, and spooktacular for my Halloween decor.
This is Tricksters with Treats, Halloween fun. Let's meet all of my co-hosts. Martina from The Secret Craft Room, Monica from Up All Night DIY, and Morena from Morena's Corner. You're going to find the links to their channels and this playlist in my description box below. Isn't he cute? I just thrifted this guy, got him at Goodwill for $5.99, and he is going to get a brand new look. We're going to give him a makeover. Yes, we are. He's in pretty good shape. There's some little pits here and there, but no big deal because we're going to take care of this cute little guy. I'm going to start by disassembling him. I need to get the light kit out, and I'm just using my Tinatana screwdriver to make that happen. Once I get that light kit out, I can go ahead and remove the part of the frame basically that holds that light kit in. I did make a gouge in the bottom of my jack-o'-lantern, but I'm going to be putting something there anyway, so no big deal. I'm going to be placing PVC inside the jack-o'-lantern up just a little bit to resemble a candle inside him, and the bottom part is going to be part of his body. I'll be using one of these styrofoam discs to take up that voided space. I take the piece of the light kit and sit it on top, and I just trace it out. Then I am going to take my PVC and center it, and I'm just going to slowly work it in kind of a rocking motion down through the middle of the styrofoam to create my circle where the PVC will slide through to look like a candle. Then I'm going to cut out the exterior part of that styrofoam so that it fits up real nice and slick inside that recess of my jack-o'-lantern. Since Jack is a little jacked, I am going to fill in his cracks and his little divots. I want him to be uniform. I want him to look semi-real. You know what I mean? I don't want him to have seams on the side of his head and dents in the side of his body. Plus, if you remember, I gouged the bottom of him, and I need to repair that as well. I have the styrofoam in, and I am going to, so you can see the gouge down there, I'm just going to fill all of this in with some lightweight spackle. We're going to give it a sand, and I am going to paint him. I am going to paint him the exact same color as I did Party Jack. And so you can see how I did all that. I will leave the link of that video in my description box for you. But fill the holes, then I will paint. Earlier, I had estimated the length of my PVC and taken it to the chop saw and cut it down. Now I need to really get serious about how large his body is going to be. He's going to have a full body, arms, legs, torso, etc. So I need to get a real good idea. I'm laying it out and I'm just tracing his head, and that way I can really get an idea of how tall he is going to be. He's going to be kind of tall, but that's okay. That's okay. So here's his head, and now I can take my PVC and I can plan out how much of a candle I will have inside the bottom of the jack-o'-lantern and how much will be his torso and where his arms and his legs are gonna go. These white tubes are a cross between PVC and a straw because they're not as thick as PVC, but they're thicker than a straw. I held it up to my little drawing to see how long these legs are gonna be. Now, I don't want him just standing upright. I want him to have motion. So I am cutting an angle in this straw PVC thing so that way I am creating a knee. He's getting a knee. Here's the original cut, and if you turn it that way, voila, ta-da, you have a knee. I am marking out an angle at the top of each leg to create a hip. I am going to start my cut with my coping saw and then follow up with my shears to clean up those edges. That way I will have a nice sloping angle on his hips, and he won't be all hippie. He won't be a hippie dude. You see how this is going to go? This is going to get attached right here, right at the end of my big PVC. With his right leg done, I finish up his left leg, and here you can really see what he's going to look like. There's both his legs, and now it's time to add some structurally sound materials inside those flimsy straw things. I have some rather heavy gauged wire that I'm going to be feeding down through each of these, I'm not going to call them straws anymore, tubes. They're just tubes. So in all, I will have 3 pieces of wire inside of each leg. And right now you can only see one. I will be adding the other wires shortly. Now I'm gluing his kneecap together with 3-in-1 glue. After both kneecaps were glued, I put some blue painter's tape on them to hold them in place while they adhered. Now I am taking some spray foam and I'm going to fill the cavities of each of these legs for even a little more stability. This stuff is amazing. If you've never used it, give it a whirl. It is fabulous for all kinds of things. I've even made popcorn out of it. I'll put the link to that video in the description box below. I will be constructing his arms in this exact same fashion. Because all of my PVC and tubes are going to get a coat of paint before I do anything else to them, just as a base coat, I gave everything sanding, just a real light sanding to rough up the surface. Now we're going to unleash his legs, unleash the legs, set them free. They want to be part of his body. So I take off the tape and then I'm going to remove all the extra spray foam that has emerged from his little legs. Next, I'm going to drill some holes into the side of the PVC and his little leg. I just have to figure out exactly where I want those holes to be. The placement of his legs are everything because I want movement. I want him to be looking like he's running through the woods. Chasing something. That's right, chasing something. And I'm using 3-in-1 glue and self-tapping screws to make this happen. And once again, he is going to be standing, and this time without any kind of base. So I need to make sure he is structurally sound enough to hold up his own body weight without tipping over. Now I'm prepping the holes for his arms. I'm starting with a small bit and I'm going to get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger because I need that green straw, both of them, one from one side and then the other from the other side, to go through this PVC. And then I'm going to be threading wire through them all the way through. So 1 individual wire, 2 straws. So each arm will move independently, but they will be structurally sound more so than if it was just independent wires on either side, because this way they can't fall out. So as you can see, my drill bits are getting bigger and bigger up until the point where I can get that straw through the center. Finally, it's time to paint. It's time to paint. Yes, I'm at the point where I finally get to paint this thing. And once again, this is just a base coat, just in case something sees through, somebody does whatnot, this and that. I don't want PVC showing. You know I have issues, so I am just using a brown, but you can use any brown paint you want for what I'm doing here. And I'm going to cover the entire little body with this paint. So there you go. Hey, you know what? I fibbed. I'm not painting the entire thing. I'm not painting that top part. I drew a little line where the candle is going to be, remember? And that part is going to get a different procedure. So, bad on me. I misspoke. There you go. Paint brown, Dawn. Paint it brown. Okay, now here's the real fun. This is bark. This is real bark. We had a tree die in our yard and it came down, and I saved a big sheet of bark off of this thing, and I am going to put it onto the body, the torso, the legs and the arms, all of it. I am just hot gluing, and the torso is the easy part. The torso is the easy part because I can use nice big long pieces to just glue right onto that PVC. Now, as I proceed, it's going to get a little more difficult to take little tiny chunks of it and go around the legs, and then even smaller pieces and go around the arms. Keep in mind, the legs are bent and the arms are bent. So, yeah, it gets a little tricky. It's kind of like a really weird jigsaw puzzle that you would never ever have anybody do. So this was a little time consuming, but I'm glad I did it. And yeah, so I'm just gonna cover him with bark. Okay, I am at the point where I have the body and his legs all covered in bark, and there's blue, making sure he doesn't go anywhere. He's keeping an eye on this guy. He's got a name. His name's Gus. So Gus is just hanging out, and you can see he can stand. I'm very happy with the situation because making him stand and then with him holding things later is not an easy task. So yay. Now I'm addressing the part of the PVC that is going to be the candle. I am making the drips, like we all do with the hot glue gun, and they're exaggerated. They're big drips. I would have rather used my dimensional paint to do this, but for the sake of time, because time is never on our side when we're making things, I opted for the hot glue option. So I am just making drip marks all the way down and around so that it looks like a candle, and then I'm going to paint it. And I am using chalk paint. White. It's not white. It is plaster chalk paint to paint this beautiful candle. See the arms there? Arms looking good. They're bent. They've been barked. And they're ready for their next process as well. Since I want his body to look like a vine, like he just grew in the pumpkin patch and took off, except someone carved him. He got carved. But I wasn't sure until I had the whole thing totally barked if I was going to leave it natural or if I was going to paint it. And I feel like there was too much of Groot action happening and it didn't look viney enough for me. It looked too tree-like. I decided to go ahead and go figure. I put tree bark on it and it looked like a tree. Oh, shoot. So I went ahead and I'm painting it this really, really pretty green. It is called Lush Green, and it is a Deco Art Americana acrylic paint. And boy, is she pretty. I am painting the entire bark body, and I will come back and create a wash to get down inside all the little crevasses when I am finished with this step. After my green paint was dry, I pushed the styrofoam all the way up into the bottom of his feet as far as I could, and then I stuffed the rest of it with this wood filler because I will be screwing on some feet. He needs to have feet. Without feet, he can't run through the forest. Well, he wouldn't be able to stand up either, so that's not a good thing. If you have a pumpkin vine and a pumpkin, you should have a pumpkin leaf or 2 or 3 or more. Actually, his hands and his feet are going to be leaves. So I am drawing out a little template of what my interpretation of a pumpkin leaf would look like. And I am making not only hands and feet, but a few extras as well to go on different places on his body. A couple on his head, a couple on his arms and whatnot. Once my original leaf is drawn, I cut it out, and then I begin to make the smaller ones. The hands will be smaller than the feet, of course, and then all the little extras will be smaller than the hands. And I just keep going down a size and down a size so that I have a variety of sizes of leaves. Then I am going to create veins on these leaves because they are going to be stamps. I am going to be stamping these into clay. So I am using my hot glue gun and I am drawing in where the veins would be. And if you have to, go outside, get a leaf so you can see what the veins look like. If you have to look at it online, if you make this, I think you'll be really surprised and happy on how cool this effect is. I have made other stamps this way, and I'll do some videos on different stamps that I've done, but it's fun and it gives you a really cool effect. So I just make my own veins and I cover the entire leaf, and I get my other leaves done as well. Then we move on to the clay. This is called flower clay, and I have used it before. I used it on another project where I mended a kitty cat, a Halloween kitty cat. I'll put the link in the description box for you. But this stuff is pretty fun to work with. It stays pliable for quite a long time. So I knead it into a ball. I throw some cornstarch down and I lay the ball down. I roll it out. I add a little more cornstarch, and then I'm going to cover it with a piece of parchment paper. You don't have to use the parchment paper. I've done it both ways, but in this circumstance, I want to be extra sure that my stamp does not stick to my clay. So I put my stamp down and I press it and I roll it out, and then you're gonna see what happens here when I lift it up. It is really pretty cool. And you just have to make sure you get every bit of the stamp before you lift it up. And there you have it. There you have your leaf. Look at the veins. They're imprinted right into the clay. Then you use your stamp again to trace out your leaf, and you just cut out the remainder of the clay from around your stamp. Then I make my hands, my other foot, and a bunch of miscellaneous tinier little leaves to decorate Gus. Gus the ghost catcher. Yep, he's gonna be chasing some ghosts. Who you gonna call? You're gonna call Gus. It's important what you do after you cut these out, because you need to form them. You need to form them the way you want them to be. And you can see there on the far right, I have one of his feet kind of propped up, and I will be slowly bending them and forming them and putting things underneath them so they maintain a certain shape. And when it's all said and done, you'll see what I mean. But you can form these any way you want. This one is going to be holding something. This is one of the hands. So I am going to let it start to dry, to cure in that form, right like that. And I will be bending some of the others around so they have some lifelike movement as well. Here they are drying and curing, and you can see how I have little items under some of them to make them be shaped in certain ways as they dry. And believe it or not, when I go to glue these on, these things will still be pliable. This stuff is amazing. Flower clay. Once my leaves are dry to the point where I know I'm not going to be making fingerprints in them, where I can handle them, I am going to trim off any kind of raggedy edges just with a pair of scissors, and then I am going to dust off all of the extra cornstarch. You got to get it all off because these will be painted. These will all eventually be painted out in that same beautiful lush green that I used on Gus's body. All of my leaves will be backed in paper towel. I will Mod Podge on paper towel, and in between the leaf and the paper towel will be wire, and the wire will get used to attach the leaf to Gus's body. So first, I trace all my leaves out and cut out the paper towels. Then I grab some wire and I will cut different lengths for different leaves depending on what those leaves are. And I am also going to use my cute little pliers there. These are made for jewelry making. And I am going to create some little vines that curl. And if you've ever seen a real vine, they curl in multiple directions. They don't just go in one direction. So I will be curving my little wire in one direction, and then I will come back as I go down the little piece of wire, and I will start to curve it in the opposite direction, just like a real vine. Then these will get glued in between the leaf and the paper towel with a little hot glue. And then once that dries, I will Mod Podge the paper towel to the back of the leaf. Then all of my leaves, front and back, will get painted. Painted, like I said, that lush green. These little wood feet I cut out from a scrap piece of wood left over, of course, from a previous project. And the one is just like the pad of his foot because he's going to be stepping off. This is his back foot. So I took my original template and I curved it up. And that little knob, that little curved part on the back is for the leg. You know how I added the wood filler into the bottom of his leg? I will be using a screw and wood glue to attach the feet to those legs, right through the bottom of the feet. I will drill a hole, little pilot hole, and screw right up into the leg for stability. These feet, once sanded, will get painted lush green as well. I will be using this thrifted embroidery hoop and this wood spoon to create a butterfly net. And I thrifted both of them. This was $1, and this spoon that someone decided to get all crafty and paint on was 50 cents. So for 75 cents and some scrap tulle, I'm going to make a butterfly net. It'll go on something like this. Then I am going to use a jar. I thrifted a jar. Don't know if I'll use this one in particular. I do have a couple others that I thrifted as well that I might use, and one of my ghosts. And I am going to put my ghost in a jar because Gus is catching ghosts. He is a ghost catcher. And the ghost, if you want to see how I made him, you can check out my video Spectavision, or you can check out my tutorial on Instagram.
I have taken all those bits and pieces of everything that I have created and I've assembled them, and now it's time to meet Gus. Gus the ghost catcher. Who you gonna call? Gus.
Well, success. He is standing on his own free will. You can see his little feet. You can see the motion in his legs. The leaves turned out so cute. One of them is his hand there holding the little ghost that he already captured in that jar. I drilled holes in the top of the jar so our little ghost can breathe. And there's another one. He got another one in his net. Hard to believe that was an embroidery hoop and a spoon. Some extra tool I had just lying around. It was a scrap. He got him in motion, that little ghost. He just caught him, snagged him right out of the air. Where we catch lightning bugs, Gus catches ghosts. He will release them later on this evening. No ghosts were harmed in the making of this video. So you can see what was the spoon in his other little hand. And now you understand why I formed those leaves while they were curing. So cute. Let's take a look at his little face. He's so happy. He's having fun. I added some bark to the existing stem and some leaves on top of his head. And he is just ready to go. Oh, that's right, the candle. Well, we know what the candle does. Let's light the candle. Light the candle. I have a motto, and it is, if you can light something up, you should light something up. And in this case, I think it really is the icing on the cake. It is the icing on the Halloween cupcake. Oh, look at him. It looks like he's laughing with that light flickering inside his little jack-o'-lantern head. So cute. Running through the forest, catching ghosts. It is Halloween after all. Thanks again to Martina, Monica, and Morena for joining me in Tricksters with Treats Halloween Fun. You're going to find the links to their channels in this fabulous playlist in my description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, share it with your family and friends and anyone that likes Halloween, Halloween decor, fun things, thrifting, and anything unique and different. You can follow me on Instagram, and don't forget to check out my shop on Etsy. Leave me a comment. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Ring the bell for notifications of all my upcoming new videos, and subscribe. It's a great way to support my channel. But for now, this is Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.